Vishnuvataya Krishna Pushtaya Tare Shimati Bhakti Vedanta Santi Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vacharine Nivasisha Simhavadi Pashtatar Satarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar, excuse me, Goloka Vrindavan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Oh, can I quickly? Oh, sorry, you're recording.
Go ahead.
Sita Wallabi's mother left her body after the
Oh,
heart attack.
Okay.
oh,
First,
When everything's settled, maybe we can go and visit her.
yes, oh,
okay.
yes, yes,
Okay.
Certainly our prayers to that departed soul,
yeah. Hare Krishna.
the next life, next situation. Hare Krishna. Okay, so where we left off in the midst of Krishna Leela. Yeah, we're just reading about Krishna's pastimes, and there's little commentary on the pastimes as we go. We've been commenting upon that a little bit. So we'll just jump straight in. We left joining with the cowherd voice, and let's start reading.
I can read.
Go ahead.
Well, because it's lovely pastimes of Krishna.
Yeah.
Which text?
Let's go from, let's go from 164.
64, okay. Yeah, we can read it all over again, actually. Okay. 164. As his friends, playthings in hand, joyfully sang, danced, and glorified him, Krishna stood with his brother. Commentary. Among the various things the boys carried were bowls, drums, fans, flags, seats, umbrellas, chamara fans, hand cymbals, wooden shoes, and food and drink. This was the paraphernalia for their games in the forest. The boys were very happy to be away from their homes and on the way to the forest where they could play however they liked.
Yeah, because they're kind of restricted under the watchful eye of their parents. You know, as young boys being young boys when they get together and they're not under the watchful eyes of their parents, then they engage in great bravado. Especially the cowherd boys, you see, I mean, their play with each other is quite extensive. In their bliss, in their unbounded bliss, they have so much fun in that forest, playing so many different games, you know, including wrestling with Krishna, as we know. Bhagavatam, remember, it says sometimes they imitate the animals, you know, imitate the frogs, imitate the monkeys. You know, they have a great uproarious time. Okay, go on. Just trying to enter into these pastimes as much as we can as we read them. All right, gotcha. Right, yeah.
Text 165. Krishna's elder brother walked in front and I walked behind. And the girls, unable to tolerate being separated from Krishna, found excuses to follow and came out from the village helplessly pulled by ropes of love. Commentary. Here, Sarup gives the gopis only a slight mention, referring to them simply as Thai, those girls, because anything he says about them might stir his memory of the special relationships between the gopis and Krishna and disturb the mood he's trying to set. Even though his relationship with Krishna was in Sakhya Ras, if he were to remember the gopis' love for Krishna, he would be unable to control his ecstasy. The gopis could hardly justify walking out of the village in broad daylight and in front of everyone. But because they were helplessly attracted to Krishna, they were unable to tolerate his absence.
Yeah, I think it's not just the gopis that come out. I think it's the elders come, the elders of the village, they all come as well. Especially we're going to read Madhya Soda obviously comes, and the babes in arms, they come in the arms of the elders. So I guess it wouldn't stand out so much. Because remember, the gopis' relationship with Krishna in Madhurya Ras is kind of unknown to the elders. It's like a forbidden love, if you can use that word. I think the only time where it became very apparent of the gopis' attachment to Krishna, which was obvious to everyone, was when Krishna was taken away by Akura. And how they reacted in public to that. But again, that didn't really stand out as a concern because everyone was kind of washed away in an intense grief of separation. But here, yeah. Okay, go on. It's 166.
Mother Yashoda saw Krishna perspiring from a mood of
oh yeah, go on, carry on. Yeah.
Mood of ecstasy, and came to wipe his face, and went with him as far as the outer gates of the village, her breast filled wet with milk. Commentary. Krishna's face may have been perspiring because of the longing to be with the gopis that aroused in him, and when he saw them following behind, Mother Yashoda, however, was concerned only with wiping his face. First she wiped with her hands, and when they didn't work, she used the edge of her garment. Text 167. At his request, she then turned back towards the house. But oh, after 2 or 3 steps, she craned her neck and anxiously went back to her son. Text 1.
Right, so try and picture the scene. So Krishna's trying to go into the forest with the cowherd boys. So he's just wiped. She's just wiped his face, turned around. Now she's going back to her son. I think this happens quite a few times. Go on.
I was just thinking how being with mother, it's Vatsalya Ras, right? And then with Gopas, that's
Sakya Ras.
Sakya Ras.
Yeah.
And then how he is really meditated on being with gopis, Madhurya Ras, you know?
Yeah, that's causing his sweat.
Yes.
Causing his sweat. According to, yeah, so about Krishna, he's Bhakti Rasamrita Murti. Yeah, no doubt. But also he's enjoying the rasa of Sakya Ras. He's enjoying the rasa of Vatsalya Ras as well. So he's enjoying, when we say rasa, he's enjoying the love.
Yeah.
He's enjoying the love. So he's he's an enjoyer. And he's allowed to be an enjoyer, and he is the enjoyer, and we want to be servants of his enjoyment. And then we'll enjoy, just like the Gopas, they're all enjoying tremendously. Why? Because they're all focused to have a relationship of love and affection with Krishna. So they're serving him in that way. Also the parents, the elders, they're enjoying a great festival of love. And then the gopis, because their focus is Krishna, then they're automatically immersed in an unlimited ocean of loving devotion. Yeah. Go on.
Text 168. She made pan for him and put some in his mouth and some in his hand, and then again turned towards the house. But once again, she quickly came back to him. Commentary. Just like the first time, Yashoda again nervously turned around, craned her neck to see him, and came back to him.
I guess, sorry to bring up something mundane here. I mean, because I experienced Vatsalya Ras. Not that I have children, but I experienced Vatsalya Ras on behalf of my mother. I remember when I was first going to school. she was fussy, you know, when it first, probably you as mothers, when your child first goes to school, then you're fussing over everything, you know, the uniform, you know, the uniform and everything, and the bag and everything ready. She was so fussing. And I remember also my first day at work after leaving school. Then I went to work. My first day at work, she was so, not the same as Mother Yasoda, calling me back many, many times, but she was, you know, she was showing affection and love. So you can imagine that. So we all have that experience from either end, even as mothers or as children. So just to exemplify that hundreds of thousands of times, then it gives us an indication, but only an indication of the Vatsalya love that Mother Yasoda and the other elders have for Krishna. So we experience all the rasas that we're hearing about here. We experience their reflection here in the material world. Originally, all these rasas that we experience here with parents, children, or whatever, that's all originally seen in its pure form. We experience a reflection of it. Anyone, please devote to free, welcome to make comments along the way, as per usual. So Mother Yasoda, she's nervous, so she's nervously turned around. So she's in anxiety about her dear Krishna. So,
yeah. Text 169. Right on the path, she fed him some fruits and some other sweet things and gave him something to drink. Then she again started going back to the house and then again turned around. She gave him a thorough looking over and adjusted his clothes and the other things he had on. And then she once more turned back. But then she again returned and plaintively gave him some instructions. Commentary. Yashoda spoke to Krishna anxiously because she knew he was naughty and would likely ignore her advice.
Just like typical son, young son.
Yes. Text 171. My dear child, don't go too far into the impenetrable woods.
Yeah, penetrable woods.
Yeah, and never enter deep into the forest where there are thorns. 172. After speaking this way at length, beseeching him to take care, she once again turned home and took a few steps and yet again came back. 173. My dear boy Ram, she said, you stay in front of your younger brother, and you, Sridham, stay behind your friend Krishna with Swarup. Text 174. You, Amsu, should stay on Krishna's right, and you, Shubal, on his left. Straw between her teeth, she implored the boys with such requests. Then she looked intently at her son. Commentary. Balaram, the most competent of the boys, should walk in front of Krishna. Though the others would spontaneously take up their proper places, she directed them anyway, just to make sure. The phrase iti adhikam indicates other requests. The boys should not let Krishna go into thorny and dangerous places. They should provide him shade if the sun became too intense, and they should be sure he ate nicely at lunch. Coming to the end of her list of requests, Mother Yashoda looked intently in Krishna's face to evoke promises from Krishna and the other boys that they would do what she has asked. Text 175. In this way, Mother Yashoda, anxiously going back and forth again and again, showed more love than a cow who has just given birth to a calf. Commentary. This exchange between Yashoda and Krishna went on for some time, but Swarup wanted to avoid prolonging his description. Text 176. Her son had bowed down to her, took hold of her feet, and embraced her, and with various rationales,
Rationalis. Yeah.
and
That
fine
means
words of intense insistence of his own, with great effort, he made her turn back. Commentary. Krishna hoped that by showing this elaborate display of request and affection, he would convince his mother of how seriously he took her words. He reminded her that she also had to eat breakfast and attend to various household chores. But when all his reasons failed to convince her, he finally simply insisted very strongly that she go back. All this he had to do several times before she finally relented. Text 177. And she, crying, milk dripping from her breast, stood right there, motionless, like a painted picture, and distantly watched from that high place near the forest. Text 178, 179. But the lovely gopis kept following him, their throats choked with weeping. They could no longer sing, nor see through their streams of tears, and their feet stumbled. In their shyness and fear, they had nothing they could do or say. Drowning in a great ocean of sorrow, they had no way to hold back their feelings. Commentary. As expressed by the word tu, however, the mood of the gopis is even more exalted than that of Mother Yashoda. The gopis, the Lord's most beloved devotees, are endowed with all excellent qualities. And now the gopis were overwhelmed by various emotions, such as their natural shyness, which decorated their personalities most of the time, and their fear of what their elders must be thinking and what the consequences might be of having left the village without permission. In the village, moreover, the gopis could counteract the pain of separation from Krishna by embracing and kissing him. But now that he was leaving for the day, there was nothing they could do. They lacked the strength even to ask, how can we live like this? According to a well-known psychological principle, Nivedya Dukkham Sukhino Bhavanti. Unhappy people can regain their peace of mind by revealing the cause of their distress. But here the gopis couldn't even express themselves, so they remained adrift in the vast ocean of their mercy.
right. So just, I mean, this event is a daily event. As we know, it's a daily event and it's going on eternally. But because of the nature, because there's no time there, it means there's no past, there's no past, there's only the ever present. So it's ever fresh and it's an ever new experience of wonder. And Krishna's only going out for one day and he's coming back in the evening.
I was thinking the same. I thought it's only for one day he's going to the forest.
Only for one day. So it is literally like we hear when the gopis, they complain about Brahma. When they blink their eyes, then they cannot see Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
And we can hardly imagine what it must be like or must have been like when Krishna does leave for Mathura.
Yeah.
So the residents, for as far as outsiders are concerned, Vrindavan becomes a village of mad people, haunted by ghosts. They're haunted by ghosts and mad people. It's quite a leela of devastation. And then, as you know, there's commentaries where it's described that Krishna comes back. He makes sojourns back into Vrindavan in the midst of his killing the demons. That's mentioned by some of the Goswamis. But I found it interesting here. I can't quite picture. I'm trying to picture the exchange here or the scene, because it sounds like it says the gopis could counteract the pain of separation from Krishna, like in the village, by embracing and kissing him. But I guess that, but now he was leaving. I guess that would be in Gupta hidden moments. I know there is places even in Nanda, in what's it called, Nanda Maharaj's place. There is places where Radha and Krishna can meet secretly, even there, you know. But anyway, it's quite intriguing. It seems like their love is quite, well, it's open from one perspective. I guess we can't picture the scene completely, but you know. Anyway, can continue because anyway, I'm just speculating here. Let's just read on. Yeah, but also there's sorry, I keep going back, but there's different emotions going on with the gopis. So they're shy, yeah, but also they're fearful, and they're crying, and they're following Krishna, and they're trying not. I guess they're not trying. They're becoming overwhelmed with their affection for Krishna, and at the same time they're trying to hide it. But the very fact that they're following Krishna means showing their great affection for him.
Because they're out of the village and they haven't asked permission to go out, and the elders are around.
Yeah, I mean, it might be because Krishna's the hero of the village, and like everyone speaks about him. So then the elders, obviously, they understand everyone's affection for Krishna. And the gopis also, they understand their affection, but perhaps the details of their affection in their Rasa Leela is not known to them. And Krishna's sojourn into the night to go and meet Radharani, I mean, that is not known to Mother Yasoda and the elders. But the fact that they have affection for Krishna, I think that's probably open. But they don't really they don't kind of understand the full conjugal relationship that's actually there.
I suppose because they all just love Krishna, they all have got
Yeah.
So then wouldn't say anything. The elders wouldn't say anything much to the young ones because the love is there.
Yeah, because when Krishna kills demons, then everyone's speaking about it. Everyone's singing songs about Krishna's activities. They're all, the talk in the village is about Krishna. Although the gopis in some of their talks, then they have to keep it gupta, and they have to keep it hidden. And sometimes they speak about Krishna, but they speak in an indirect way that only they know they're speaking about Krishna. There's a certain language called parokshavad. It's like indirect. So they speak about Krishna, they speak about Radharani's love for Krishna, but they will speak about bees being attracted to honey. You understand? So they speak. So in other words, those who might hear them will think the gopis are speaking about bees and their attraction to honey, or to flowers, or to different types of flowers. Sometimes they will speak like Radharani. There's a certain flower, and there's a big black bee which is coming to enjoy the honey. So in that way, it's kind of indirect language, parokshavad. So that the love has that. It's quite in a sense it adds a certain flavor. This swakiya rasa, rather than I've got it right the other way around. Padakiya rasa. It adds a certain flavor that their love is unknown. It's kind of hidden. So there's a secretive excitement about the love between Radha and Krishna. And Hare Krishna. So let's carry on reading. Yeah? Unless there's comments out there. or anyone else like to read, would like a good opportunity to go a little, because when you do read, you kind of pay more. It's easier to absorb and get into the paradigm. So
Yeah, I can read.
go ahead, Novel Wonder.
Text 180, yeah?
Yes.
Krishna had stolen the hearts and eyes of these young girls. The girls had come so far from the coward village, and now with some endeavor he stopped them. And as they looked at him, he repeatedly tried to send them home. He anxiously reassured them again and again through a trusted messenger and by his own gestures. He stretched his neck to glance at the girls with love, signaled with his eyebrows, and did what he could to make the girls shy and even afraid. In this way, he forced them to stop, and they stood in front of his mother, motionless, just like her. Commentary. The boys are now approaching the dense forest, an unsafe place for young girls, so Krishna had to send them back by sending a boy as his go-between and by making his own gestures like knitting his eyebrows, shaking his head, and biting the tip of his tongue. He managed to convince them not to go any further. The gopis then joined Mother Yashoda on the same hill, where the gopis stood still like pictures and cried profusely, just like her.
All right, so they're all crying. I think some of them faint away as well, and they have to be carried back to the village by others. So, yeah.
Yeah. Text 183. Nanda, the king of the cowherds, naturally loved Krishna ever so much, but upon seeing his wife's loving concern, he was enslaved by overwhelming affection. Text 184. Though Nanda Maharaj had gone with Krishna a great distance, and the elder cowherds with him, when Nanda saw the great burden of love all the people of Vraj bore for his son, he was unable to turn back. Commentary. As the king of the cowherd community, Nanda would normally be surrounded by priests, advisors, and other Vrajvasis. So, along with Nanda, other leaders of the community, including his elder brother Upananda, were also following Krishna. But even out of regard for their comfort, Nanda couldn't bring himself to turn back.
Right. So it's yeah. So there's lots. So the whole village. I think there's some who will stay back. They will have their specific duties to do back at the village. But generally, other than that, more or less everyone will be there. Or even if they're in a village, still, then they will be looking from a distance. Yeah, so from Nanda Maharaj, couldn't bring himself to turn back as well. Okay, good.
Yeah, text 185. Yeah. Nanda was delighted to see many auspicious omens and see the animals and other creatures all very happy. Yet he was distraught at having to be parted from his son Krishna. Commentary. The animals showed auspicious symptoms. They had full faces and bodies and were circling Nanda clockwise. The deer, birds, and other forest creatures were happy because their time for being separated from Krishna was night, and now it was time for Krishna to join them in the forest. Text 186. Again and again he embraced Krishna and Krishna's elder brother, both separately and together. He smelled their heads and shed tears in the pain of great love for them. Text 187. Then Krishna bowed down to Nanda, reminded him of the many duties Nanda had to perform, and sent him home. Turned back, Nanda stood motionless, looking at Krishna and nothing else. Commentary. Krishna convinced Nanda, "You are needed at home to save the villagers from becoming too wretched over my absence." Also in the afternoon, Nanda would have to organize the decorating of the village for Krishna's return. Text 188.
Yeah, so this is all love. I was listening to a lecture, a class given by my Guru Maharaj in the bath, and it was he was speaking quite provocatively. He was kind of challenging them quite a bit in their understanding. Especially, he was making a statement that you don't know what love is, and one man took a bit of affront to it. Not in a friendly way. He was saying, "I do know what love is." And my spiritual, and then Maharaj was saying, no, you do not know what love is. And he repeated back, yes, I do know what love is. I said, no, you do not know what love is. So this is love, what we're, although we, you know, we can see this affection here to some degree in the material world, but you have to admit, some parents can't wait till the kids get out of the house, isn't it? And some of the kids drive the parents mad, you know, and they can't wait till the kids go to school. It's like, oh, it's like a great relief, you know, especially in the West, you know, in the West, you know, parents are quite eager for their children to go to work and to leave home, you know, but not here, not here. There's so much love that, you know, as we can read here. So yeah, there is some, you may see some so-called love, but compared to the love we're seeing here of the parents for their son, you know, it cannot be compared. Okay, sure. 188 now, is that right?
Yeah, 188. When Nanda's two sons had gone so deep into the forest he could no longer see them or hear any sound, he finally turned back toward the cowherd village. Commentary. For a while, even after the boys and their animals were too far to be seen, some sounds could still be heard, like cows mooing and horns being blown. But when even those sounds were inaudible, Nanda finally went home. Text 189. He deputed some servants as messengers to bring news of what Krishna was doing. Then he consoled his wife and the gopis and took them back to their homes. Text 190. The gopis, singing Krishna's pastimes, entered the village, where they began the day absorbed in thoughts of his company. Commentary. The gopis are Krishna's greatest devotees, dedicated to him even more intensely than Sri Nanda and the other elder cowherd men and women. The gopis spent the entire day fully absorbed in the sankirtan of singing about the rasa dance and other pastimes they had shared with Krishna. They remembered how they had enjoyed these pastimes, and they looked forward to having more pastimes with him soon. Some of the songs the gopis sang are recorded in the 10th canto, 35th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. When Mukunda vibrates the flute, he has placed to his lips, stopping its holes with his tender fingers. He rests his left cheek on his left arm and makes his eyebrows dance. At that time, the demigods, goddesses traveling in the sky with their husbands, the siddhas, become amazed. As those ladies listen, they are embarrassed to find their minds yielding to the pursuit of lusty desires, and in their distress, they are unaware that the belts of their garments are loosening.
Yeah, something to say. Yeah, that was it. This particular part of Krishna's pastimes is quite it's quite like, where to start? What am I trying to explain here? The activities in the temple, it's all centered on Krishna. All centered on Krishna, and it's very unique. It's very wonderful. I guess we take our morning program for granted in one sense, because how it's organized. For instance, I'm thinking of deity greeting the deities. I mean, every day we see Krishna, and every day we see the outfits, but it's the same what's going on here. It's like a facsimile. What's going on in the temple is a facsimile of what's going on in the spiritual world with the deities of Radha and Krishna. Like at 7 o'clock, then all the devotees come, and what is everyone doing? They're just looking at Krishna. Govindam Hari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Everyone's just looking at Krishna with hopefully with like eyes of devotion and appreciation, and look at the details of how Krishna is dressed. So what's going on here is what's going on there. Of course, here there's some inebrities. Here there's some, it's not, it's not. I guess for some who are qualified, then Krishna, they can see Krishna going with the cows. They look at the backdrop, they can enter into that whole leela if you're so advanced. But anyway, you get the idea here that this is deity greeting for the resonance of Raj. So we may, that's why it's good. It's nice to. I mean, sometimes I manage to do it, but often I don't. When I'm dressing the deities and I'm doing deity greeting, I'm trying to remember sometimes, if I'm doing well, these pastimes of Krishna in the morning. So that's what. So if you read these pastimes, then when we take darshan of Krishna, we can perhaps bring these to mind. How Krishna is trying to leave in the morning. He's trying to go to the forest. So anyway, Hare Krishna. Just thought I'd share that. Any comments on that? Oh.
I like how Nanda Maharaj went back because they have to decorate the village every evening for Krishna's return. I thought that was like...
Oh, yeah, he said that. I missed that. Yeah.
Amazing how they decorate the village every day for Krishna.
Yeah. So same as we decorate the temple for festivals. So they decorate the village every day for Krishna's return. And they're singing songs about Krishna. This is Sankirtan. They make up songs and they sing about Krishna. Yeah. So as they do, we should try to do as well. Go on, is that?
Yeah, I was also thinking, I can kind of understand why they're all so sad. First, missing Krishna, also the feeling that he's going deep into forest. There's going to be thorns. There's, so they're really like worried as well for his safety.
Yeah, that's aspect of Vatsalya Ras.
So
they feel Krishna is dependent upon protection from them. So that's why Soda has one boy walk in front, one walk to the side, one boy behind.
Yeah.
And what to speak of the emotions when it comes to demons that are killed in the forest. So there's that added dimension as well. And that's why it's called, we have this, they're like rasa. We have Stahi Bhav. That's the initial, that's the basic relationship, what Sally Russ say. Then you have, so that causes certain ecstasies. One of that is Anubhava. Anubhava is, so that will cause certain ecstasies within the body and certain symptoms, where one may shed tears or one may dance when he comes back. They choose to. Then there's, after that, there's, I always try to remember this, Anubhava. Then there's Sattvika Bhav, where they can't control the physiological symptoms of ecstasy. It is something which controls them. And then there's Sattvika Anubhav, Sattvika Bhav, Vyapichari Bhav, where when Krishna, for instance, at the rumor of demons or the sighting of demons, so their love just intensifies, and the emotions they go through just intensifies, and that gives rise to different symptoms as well. That's all described, I think, we all read that in the Nectar of Devotion. Vyapichari Bhav. Just all these rising of different emotions, as Krishna's going about his pastimes, So you can imagine, like, is there any scope for the residents of Vrindavan to forget Krishna? No scope. No, they don't. So this is they're in complete samadhi in thoughts of Krishna. their affection, their heart and affection is so entwined in the memories, in the memories of past time and Krishna's qualities, that even if they try to forget Krishna, then they can't. Like sometimes Radharani tries to forget Krishna in a man. Oh, good luck. She tries to put Krishna out of her mind. It's impossible. Hare Krishna. So, yeah, this is the nectar of devotion. Actually, now we're hearing about all these symptoms of ecstasy. All right, let's read some more. 191.
Am I still reading?
Yeah, why not? Go ahead.
Yeah. Excuse me. Even a person with unlimited power could not describe those dealings in further detail. But why would someone intelligent even try? It would only create abysmal distress. Commentary. The mature Brahmana might be eager to hear everything about Krishna's day, from the moment his mother wakes him till the time he returns home in the evening. But Sarupa says that only someone equal to an Antashesh could satisfy the demand to tell all this. But the Lord, the Brahmana might counter, has been addressed with the words Maya Balena Bhavatapi Ni Guyamanam Pasyanti Kechit. Some people can see what by your own power of illusion you keep hidden. Shrota Ratna 13. And the Brahmana might insist that Sri Sarupa is indeed a great devotee of the Lord and therefore able to do anything. But I cannot do this, Sarupa might say, because these pastimes are infinite. Then please describe at least some part of them in detail, the Brahmana might persist. No, Sarupa would finally answer. An intelligent person should not speak what will create unhappiness for the entire world. If one does so, he is not intelligent. Indeed, even the son of Badarayana, Vyas, did not speak elaborately in Srimad Bhagavatam on these topics of the Vrajavasis' daily separation from Krishna.
Okay. It's described this in some of the books of the Goswamis. And then over and above this, you got Krishna meeting secretly the gopis at noontime. There's so many around Radha Kund. So it's just like it's said here. Ananta Shesh, anyone who tries to detail all of these pastimes, yeah, what you say? Yeah, should someone intelligent should not even try it. But speaking out of ecstasy here, yeah, for instance, the whole descriptions of Radha Kund, if you read about that, anyway, Krishna, it's just like, yeah, let's not try. It's impossible. But go on.
Yeah. Text 193.
192.
Oh, sorry. There. Krishna felt heavy at heart from sending the gopis back, but his friends quickly pulled him forward and made him enter the beautiful Vrindavan forest. Text 193. And his companions pointed out the splendors of Vrindavan as he described them himself and supported his praise with logic. He was more or less freed of distress. Commentary. Text 192 and 193 describe how Krishna was able to tolerate the pain he felt from having to separate from the gopis. As indicated in the first of these verses by the word tu, but the pain Krishna felt was greater than that of the gopis. The cowherd boys had to drag Krishna away by force, because otherwise he and the gopis would never have stopped gazing at one another. The boys took him deep into the forest where the girls couldn't go. Of course, Krishna also sent home his parents and the others, but the gopis are especially mentioned here because their heartfelt pain was greatest. And the word Eva indicates that despite entering the forest with his friends, Krishna was not completely relieved of his anxiety about the gopis. Once inside the Vrindavan forest, Krishna praised its beauty on the pretext of glorifying his brother. As we hear from Sri Sukadeva Goswami, Krishna said, O greatest of lords, just see how these trees are bowing their heads at your lotus feet, which are worshipped by the immortal demigods. The trees are offering you their fruits and flowers to eradicate the dark ignorance that has caused their birth as trees.
Okay. Anyone else out there like to read? I can't see who's with us, as you know, in this iPad I have.
I can read a bit.
Go ahead, please. 194. Yeah.
Is it text 194? Okay.
Yes.
Text 194. His wanderings then with the cowherd boys and the state of ecstasy all creatures thereby achieved, the moving and the non-moving, one cannot conceive of this even by meditation in the heart. How then can the tongue describe this to anyone else? Text 195. In the places around Govardhan Hill, he enjoyed tending the cows and making them drink water from the Yamuna. And as evening approached, the Lord of Raj returned to his cowherd village and later played with the Raj young girls. Commentary. The verse gives a short summary of Krishna's activities throughout the day and night. The gopis and everyone and everything else in Raj exist only for Krishna's enjoyment. Text
Okay.
19.
Yeah. So this is a summary, because it says here, and as the evening approached, so there's a whole load, there's many pastimes that happen at noontime. Yeah, many playing dice with each other, swinging on the swings, yeah, so many different parts, and worshipping the sun god, etc. So many parts. And it said that the pastimes at noon, interestingly, exhibit more depth of rasa than even the pastimes of the Ras Leela.
Wow.
All the pastimes around Radha Kund, you know. But here it's a summary, yeah, and now it's just said as the evening approached. So it's just summarizing it. Yeah, go on.
Though the capital of the opulent king of the cowherds shine forth in the region called Nandeshwara, the Rajvasis, in tune with Krishna's liking, always think more highly of his pleasure pastimes in the groves and other places in the forests. Commentary. For all its sweetness, Nanda Maharaj's town is more magnificent than Vaikuntha. Even so, the residents of Raj think mostly about Krishna's playing among the trees and creepers of the forests, because that is where he enjoys the most. Text 197. O Brahmana, the satisfaction and ecstasy one tastes from living in Goloka Vrindavan are beyond describing. To what can they be compared? Commentary. According to the laws of spiritual nature, sukha, satisfaction, is the cause of ananda, bliss. In other words, sukha can be said to be the external aspect of spiritual happiness, and ananda the internal, and both are beyond the scope of material understanding. Text 198. Because devotional service to the Supreme Lord is so wondrous, those who truly know say that the residents of Vaikuntha taste a happiness much greater than that of mere liberated souls. Text 199. And the happiness of souls who reside in places like Ayodhya and Dwarka is said to be even greater because of certain various special tastes. Commentary. We have already heard that in Ayodhya and Dwarka, the Supreme Lord's devotees serve him with special intimacy. The internal servants of Sri Raghunatha's lotus feet are happier than the associates of Sri Naradan in Vaikuntha, and happier still are the eternal relatives of Sri Yadavendra in Dwarka. The devotees of Ayodhya enjoy the privilege of eternal personal service to the Lord, but the devotees of Dwarka, being entitled to taste the rasa of friendship with Krishna, and even more privileged.
Yeah, I guess we know what's coming up here. It's going to explain about the superiority of the love of the residents of Vrindavan. But what does make it unique, as we've heard before, is that there's no sense of awe and reverence. That's what makes it extreme. That's what makes it the sweetest of the sweet, is that Krishna is not God. he is not Narayan, he is not the Supreme Lord. So although the residents of Dwarka and in Vaikuntha, they're experiencing a great ecstasy, but just the fact, just that whole, if you just try and meditate on this whole dimension that in Vrindavan, Krishna is not God. For instance, for those in Vatsalya Ras, he is dependent upon them, etc. And there's cowherd boys who are protecting Krishna. Then there's the intimate exchanges of love with the gopis. So, yeah, that's going to be explained here now. Yeah.
But the happiness of the residents of Goloka far exceeds any other. It transcends reason. So how can it give room for words? Text 201. Only those who live in Goloka and always perceive the happiness know its true nature, because the Lord has such friendly feelings towards them. Text 202 to 203. Just as the demigods who have entered the material creation are counterparts of the Lord's Vaikuntha associates, those eternal associates from Vaikuntha are incarnations of the Golok devotees. Yet, like the demigods themselves, those very devotees appear on earth now and again for the pleasure of Lord Vishnu when he wants to enjoy various pastimes.
Okay, long purple here.
Commentary. Some say that many of the Rajvasis who appear on earth during Krishna's pastimes 5,000 years ago were incarnations of demigods. Nanda Maharaj, for example, is said to be an avtara of the Vasu named Drona. If taken literally, this idea would rule out the possibility that the earthly Rajvasis are eternal associates of the Supreme Lord. But the truth is just the opposite, as confirmed in scriptures such as the Padma Purana, Uttarakanda. Demigods like Drona are partial expansions of the original Rajvasis, and those original Rajvasis accompany Krishna when he descends to earth.
Okay, that's this is sometimes a bit complicated to follow. So you will hear that Drona, for example, for Nanda Maharaj, for example, is said to be an avatar of Vasu or Drona. So if I get this right, so they did austerities to obtain the position of Krishna's parents. Yeah, but so in that case, let's get this right. In that case, it seems like Nanda's position is taken up by Drona, but it's the other way around. So I'm trying to repeat this so I can try to understand it myself. But what actually is happening is that Drona, as an expansion of Nanda Maharaj in the material world, who then goes through the Leela of doing austerities in order to obtain a position of Nanda Maharaj. But he is actually an expansion into the material realm. In the material realm? Yeah. But it's actually, yeah. So demigods like Drona are partial expansions of the original Rajvasis. Anyway, you can read on. Something like that. I'm trying to understand it. I hope that helped a little bit to understand what's going on.
But how did Drona and Dara did austerities to have Krishna as their son 3 times? So anyway.
Yeah. Let's read on. I can't answer that. About serious study.
Yeah.
Sure.
Goparajananda and other devotees in Goloka expand as avtaras in Vaikuntha to become Sri Nanda and other associates of Lord Narayan. The same devotees thus enjoy pastimes in 2 worlds simultaneously, Goloka and Vaikuntha, and so it would be incorrect to assert that because the Vaikuntha associates of Narayana are avtaras, they are not eternal. The same associates of Lord Narayana expand again into the material world to become demigods. This verse calls those demigods Paritarupa, counterparts, rather than avatars, because the demigods are materially conditioned living beings. Still, those demigods are empowered representatives of the Supreme Lord's personal associates.
Okay,
In the next,
so you've got that. So there's 3 expansions.
complicated.
Yeah, and this is new for me as well. That I think it's not all the demigods, but some of they appeared when Krishna appeared, but they are counterparts of the Vaikuntha, of those in Vaikuntha, and the Vaikuntha, those in Vaikuntha are counterparts of the residents of Vrindavan.
Wow.
Yeah. Go on.
In the next few verses, Sri Sarupa will describe the incarnations of the Golok Vasis as parallel to Krishna's incarnations. That is, just as Krishna's avatars are non-different from him, the earthly associates of Krishna are non-different from the original Golok Vasis. Alternatively, the word Paritrupa, counterpart or representative, can be taken as synonymous with the word avatara. Then the idea implied in that the associates of the Lord in Vaikuntha who expand from the original Gokul Vasis are like the direct reflections, paritbimba, of those Goloka Vasis, and the further expansions as demigods are like shadows, prajitya. Both a reflection and a shadow follow a person as expansions, but the shadow represents him less fully than does his mirror image. Thus, if Nanda Maharaj on earth is called Avatara of Drona, it is the only because both of them are avatars of Nanda Maharaj in Goloka. In fact, Nanda on earth is identical with Nanda in Goloka, and Drona is only a partial expansion. But worldly calculations, demigods are considered relatively superior to humans. So Nanda on earth is considered Drona's incarnation. Thus, it is said that demigods like Vasu, Drona descend to earth to assist Lord Vishnu, the younger brother of Indra, in his enjoyment. God, that is complicated. Just as Lord Vishnu's incarnations appear briefly in the material world, but periodically reappear, the Lord's associates who manifest themselves as demigods also incarnate as earthly avatars. Whenever there is a need, for example, Sri Nanda Goparaj, the eternal beloved father of Krishna in Golok, appear in Vaikuntha as the eternal associate of Narayan, called Nanda, and he also occasionally descends to earth in his original identity. So too, Sri Balaram, who originally resides in Goloka, manifests himself in Vaikuntha as the eternal associate named Shesha. Yet he appears among the demigods as the bearer of the earth in the 7th Patila region, and he sometimes comes to earth as the self-same Balram, Krishna's friend. Sridham in Goloka appears as Garuda in 2 different forms, one as eternal associate of the Lord in Vaikuntha, and the other a son of Vineta among the demigods. And occasionally he appears on earth as the original Sridham, Krishna's parents in Goloka. Sri Vasudev and Devki appear as Sutapa and Prishni in Vaikuntha, Kashyapa and Aditi in Swarga, and sometimes in their original forms as Vasudeva and Devki on earth. The avatars of the other devotees follow the same pattern. Krishna.
Okay. So this type of thing, you really need to sit down with a pen and paper, and you need to write it down with graphs and follow it as best you can. But in essence, at least from I can understand, Shivaram Samiraj, he speaks a lot of this in the introduction to his new Raja Mahima about this tattva and of expansions, etc. But in essence, at least what I could gather, everything manifests and expands from the Rajvasis in Goloka Vrindavan. All the Vaikuntha Vasis, all the demigods, you know, if they all appear in as expansions of expansions of expansions, the shadow or reflective according to their situation. Anyway, if you have to give a presentation or a class on the different avatars, here's a place that you might come to.
Like a family tree, you have to put it all together.
Yeah, that's it.
Quite complicated, isn't it?
Well, that's a good word you used there. It could be family tree. If you really want to understand it, then you're gonna write down the original number. Then you put an arrow. Then in Vaikuntha, then from Vaikuntha expands into Dwarka, and then from Dwarka they expand as demigods.
Yeah.
So you got some.
But then there's like Ramananda Roy, who's got 4 expansions.
Yeah, some of them they're simultaneous as well.
Yeah, so it's like, but it says that you can't understand everything, so leave it as it. Just chant.
Yeah, I think that's what Sarup is saying as well. He's trying to explain it to his disciple, but he comes to this conclusion: how is it possible?
Yes.
But at least by the grace of Sanatana Goswami, we're getting some insight. He's explaining quite a few details here.
And this is Muli Prabhu, one universe, right?
Wow.
So then
there's millions. Yeah.
Imagine millions of universe. So what Krishna is just like just his lotus feet, cook for him, clean for him, and that's it. Leave him to work it out.
Yes, inconceivable. And I was remembering as well, as we was reading just there, is that Lord Chaitanya, Krishna comes, so Lord Chaitanya comes to taste this, this rasa of relationships in the Goloka Vrindavan. You know, and this is what he's also gives as well. That's a whole subject as well.
Makes you think that we see Krishna as Krishna, but there's so much more to Krishna than what we know. You know, there is a lot behind Krishna. We know him as just Krishna, you know, Krishna, beloved, but there is so much more behind Krishna.
Yeah, and that's why it's good to read, and we're hearing about these subjects. So in other words, there's more. What's it said? There's more to behold. There's more than what the eyes can see. So by reading about this, then we can go into some depth of Krishna and his personality and his qualities. Yeah, so it's not just Krishna. There is a lot to Krishna.
Yes.
All right, let's pause there. And I think there's some different editions of Brihat Bhagavatamrta. Before I was saying that this is not the last chapter, but I think it is the last chapter actually. So I'm not too sure how many verses there are. Perhaps I'll look. Anyway, thank you everyone for joining us.
Hare
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Haribol.
Please join us next week.
Yes.
Please join us next week, and we'll continue reading the nectarian pastimes of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
End. Hare Krishna.